Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of our NAWBO Member Love Live. We are super excited today to be joined by KaTasha Thomas of the Archer Agency. Welcome, KaTasha.
Good morning. Welcome, everyone that's here.
Yeah. We are really looking forward to getting to know you. You are a relatively new NAWBO member, and it's always exciting for us to have members who come in and do a little bit different, services or offerings or ways that our members can leverage you and your expertise to the best of your abilities. So, walk me through a little bit. What does the Archer Agency do?
So we work with businesses and individuals. I love that, right? Streamlining operations, scaling. If you're a nonprofit and you want to run like a Fortune 500, I do that. Startups, I work with a lot of startups. Just getting when you have this passion, I want to start this business, but you're not thinking about operations and I need to put standard operating procedures or everyone's, sharing roles. But now we're to a point where okay, it's time for us to expand. We need to get some other people in here, like all those types of things. So I work with companies to do that. But I also offer professional development and career coaching. So clients will reach out to me because they're ready to move to the next step, right? And they don't know like what's going on, why I can't, or it can be the leadership development. You're a manager, but you're ready to move to director and then VP. And so that happens. But even more recently, and I'm really loving this part, organizations are calling me out there to actually do their leadership development for their
Mm.
managers and their teams and the
Mhm.
culture. And so that's in a nutshell, right? I
Yeah.
empower others to be great. That's my
I
thing.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Absolutely. So I know, when it comes to like leadership development, there's all sorts of different philosophies. There's strengths finders,
Uh,
there's your, INTJ, all the different, versions of that. What would you say, what's your philosophy, or is there a particular curriculum that you love using?
so Strength Finders is always my go-to because and that's a personal. Everything I do is because I know that it impacts or it changes, right? I don't just go with the trends. Like everyone's like, oh, let's jump on this because this is the cool thing. And Strength
Mhm.
Finders, I mean, almost to a T where I felt like, are you judging me? Like when I would take the assessment, right? But
Yeah.
when you know your strengths and you recognize, the things on the totem pole that aren't, then you know how to adapt. Now, what I
Mhm.
also love is practicing mindfulness.
Mhm.
And being intentional. So that's another thing when I'm speaking with organizations and I'm working with their leaders, are like, okay, what's the intent? Even when with the managers, having them to understand, do you know the intent? Are you mindful of, with this? Because how are
Right.
you going to then, want your people to lead? And I was in the Army, so that morale and how do you get people to do things, I'm very, very big on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
dad used to have a shirt, I think he might still have it, but it said it was like a pirate kind of theme, and it was like, "The beatings will continue until morale improves," and it was like, yeah, I feel like there's
That's the
some
way to go. Yeah.
corporations that think if I can be super hard on my people, they'll be motivated, but, what
Right.
you're saying is like, no, play to their strengths, like, give
Right.
them that, that favor, I guess.
Right, and no pepperoni pizzas. I mean, you can do that, but that's not gonna make me wanna work harder because we have pizza day on Friday, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, no, really kind of understanding like what motivates your team and individually, not just kind
Right,
of a blanket sort of approach.
right,
So,
right.
okay, so you mentioned you were in the army. What made you decide to pivot to entrepreneurship? When did that moment come about?
Oh, that I'm just growing up as a kid. So I've been consulting now for almost 2 years, but my, like, 1-year anniversary is the 31st of this month. It's so crazy. I just
Yeah.
realized that. So I of course,
Congratulations.
17 in the army, my parents had to sign permission because yeah, I wasn't an adult technically, right? But I wasn't. But even when I got out of the army, I went into mental health. So that's
Mm,
another reason why I know that I'm well, I know I'm good at my job, but that's not what I mean, right? It resonates because I worked mental health forever, in
mm,
mental health clinician, running programs, all of this, and then because it's still the empowering, and so then I went into the corporate America. I started loving the business side, whereas I
mhm.
could, do this and help 200 people a year, or I could build a program and it could help 2 to 3,000. And so I
Mhm.
love that part of it. And I worked for the Center for Healthcare for over a decade. That was one of the best, right? They really fostered, like, once I started having that business mind, they would let me go in and look at things, look at the money, that type of stuff. And so from
Mhm.
there, I started working in clinical research, was doing biz ops, business operations, for those who don't know. And I loved it and I thrived, but I was starting to get burnt out. I had reached my goals. I had planned to be vice president, and I made it 10 years before my goal. So that's a great thing, right? When you're achieving your
Yeah.
goals, but then it's what's next. And I was getting
Mhm.
burnt out to do that. And so that's kind of where I was at an impasse. And I was like, I'm gonna do this. I was helping people already on the side, and I loved it because I was still empowering businesses, still empowering individuals. And I was like,
Mhm.
maybe I could do this on my
Mhm.
own. Like, it literally was, I wasn't fitting into the boxes that I was being put in. And I
Mhm.
said, you know what? And I'll go out here and do my own thing. I'll make my own box. I'll build my own table, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And that's
Yeah.
really how that started. And it really started to, people were booking me. I do resume packages. I do all of that, right? But it started taking off. And I said, okay, let me get serious. And then that's when last January, I was like, well, really, like, what, November, December. Let me be like legit, like a business, because
Yeah.
maybe this is a thing.
Yeah.
And it's really been great. I have customers. I have a client in Aruba.
Ugh.
Like, it
Wow.
doesn't ma it that's random. It's not, I
Yeah.
was on a trip and I will run my mouth. And it just happened that, he's a MMA fight, like, all this stuff, whatever, because he actually, people can start figuring that out because he's kind of the, I guess, MMA, he's ESPN, he's a fighter, all this stuff, right? So don't start Googling him, people. Um, but I do, that stuff I can do virtual. I'll come to you, all of that. And so I'm really loving it. That piece of me, the starting in mental health and psychology and counseling, of helping people, like, I get to do that. And that's really why I love doing this, because I'm helping
Mhm.
you take your vision and scaling it to whatever you and the sky's the limit. There are no limits. And so that's,
Mhm. Yeah.
in a nutshell, that's how I got to all these places.
Right. Yeah.
And here I am.
So when you're working with clients, is your preference, "Hey, I love to just jump in, do this, full day workshop, and then I'm out?" Or do you love, "Hey, I wanna work with you for a full year," or, "This is a long-term agreement?" What's your
Mhm.
kind of ideal scenario?
So it's up to the client. That's why I love to say I'm boutique consulting,
Mhm.
because my services are very tailored. So I do offer like 10-hour package, 10-hour coaching, 20, 30, if you want to put me on a retainer. And then with businesses, it usually, what do you need first? So we get together,
Mhm.
it's an assessment. I keep looking this way. I have stacks of, like, where I build out what I'm even going to talk about, all that. And then I build
Mhm.
out what you need. So you could be a startup that you just need processes put in place. So then we tailor to that, and that's what it is. Some businesses
Mhm.
want me to come in. Like, I have this one company that over a year span, we started with the team building, they have, new higher ups and they want to come in and all of that stuff, right? And people are scared, right? And
Mhm.
so, that, and then it's going to be a quarterly thing. And also then offering for their leaders, if the company wants, one-on-ones, will I'll then offer to some of your leaders. And you can do it as some of your rewards for, like, because reward your leaders with development and
Mm.
growth and things like that. And so
Yeah.
it really, when I say tailored, like, my services, I even have where you can just, if you want to pop in for it's called power hour, but it's really like 2 hours, but it's sound power hour sounds better. And
Yeah.
that's somebody that's just, they're ready to move up. They really need a resume looked at. You need your LinkedIn, all these things, but you're not really wanting to commit to having a coach, for
Mhm.
whatever. So
Mhm.
I do those. I have the ones where some people, I have clients that I've had for a year, but they're pop-ins where you book with me. It sends a link to pay that hourly rate, and we have a session. And you're like,
Okay.
I met with my manager, and this isn't whatever. Or some people are meeting with you that they want to renegotiate their salary.
Mhm.
Always negotiate your salary, okay?
Mhm. Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so I know that was probably a
Yeah.
lot, but it's when I say tailored, I don't have a cookie cutter, this is this program. Um,
Mhm.
Now
Mhm.
I'm working on some set programs, and I also have digital. I'm very, like, with the socials and things, giving the free advice, and it's like just the tips and the things I wish I knew when I was 19, that I wish I knew when I was 25.
Mhm.
I have
Mhm.
digital workbooks and things like that. So I try to
Yeah.
hit because everyone doesn't want to sit with a person, but I might
Mhm.
can give you a tool where you can do it yourself, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. How do you differentiate? Because I feel like, you mentioned your background is in mental health,
Mhm.
and then you mentioned you're really kind of, focusing on a coaching aspect now. How do you differentiate if somebody, is not familiar with how working with a therapist versus working with a coach
Right.
can kind of be different paths? How do you line that out for people?
Because the discussion's different, right? So when you're talking to me and it's very heavily about your business and you're trying to start this, it's like clear, right? Even how I like when I'm talking to people, then you know this, but I don't lead with that, right? Like I have a
Mhm.
lot of history in that, but when I started going to the business side, like no one's gonna take me serious with all this therapist stuff. So then I went back for the MBA, right? So I have this.
Mm.
So when I'm talking to people and those initial meets, they're coming to me for that. Now then, if it comes out, that's the plus. I identify like I actually have a person that I was like, okay, I also think that you need like a therapist, and whatever. And I'll just suggest that, right? But
Mhm.
it doesn't really come out. It's business strategist. That's how I, advertise myself. And then when they
Mhm.
get to know me, they're like, I just feel so seen and heard. I'm like, oh, really? Because my background. And that's usually how, unless it's people that know me, because that's how I got a lot of referrals in the beginning. It would just be people that I knew in the
Right.
mental health world, but they knew, like, because for a while, even I'd been out of the mental health of like seeing clients for a while.
Yeah.
Um, and so people, they just knew that I would come in there and find the money. Oh, you have $1 million grant, but you only use 20,000. Let's
Mhm.
sit down. I was doing that for a long time before yeah, I branched out, but I love money in that sense. Money
Yeah,
that can help, right? Not the shop. I mean,
absolutely.
I love shopping money too, but you know what I'm saying, funds and funding and
Right.
grants and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. So how did you, I think coming from the we actually have several members that have gone from a military background to
Uh-huh.
entrepreneur background. In
Uh-huh.
your experience, what kind of tools did you take from that background that have now, been able to aid you in that entrepreneur journey?
Resilience, structure.
Mm.
And I think I was that, right? The oldest child and the perfect, that type of thing. But then going into the military at 17 is
Mm.
crazy in sense of this is where I'm learning like my core values outside of like, my family, like strong values with your family and that type of, but in the military, you're getting your core values, the resilience that I know I'm strong. So I know I'm super girly, but I was a truck driver. I drove 18 wheelers and haul tanks and stuff in the military, right? And I'm
Yeah.
saying that to say, so it was maybe 30 females in our unit versus like 240 men. And
Mhm.
so that resilience, that being, I hate it. We have to be tough,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Because they didn't even think that some people didn't think we should have been in the military. I'm dealing with it
Mhm.
because I went in, well, I'm in 99. I'll age myself here, right? I went in 99, but
Yeah.
um, and so I think, and I think it let me know like I could do whatever I wanted to do. I'm tough. Like
Mhm.
that's probably
Mhm.
the biggest thing that I took, the resilience and the morale. When I
Right.
lead that way, any team I've ever had,
Yeah.
knowing the morale, knowing that you really spend more time with at work than your family, even though yeah, you might be home this, but you're sleep from that, you're
Mhm.
cooking
Mhm.
dinner, you're helping with this, that actual quality time, you spend more time with the coworkers than I would always, I'm not gonna make somebody's life a living hell at work because they spend more time with me than their family. And that I always led that way, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that's just how I think I operate, period, like in life. Just
Mhm.
you never know. Someone can be smiling and they're literally going through all types of turmoil. So
Mhm.
yeah, I all of that was like from the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's interesting too because I think when you're a teenager, you kinda think you're invincible, nothing's gonna go wrong,
Mhm.
nothing can hurt
Mhm.
me. And
Mhm.
then you kinda go through that period where you're fighting through some battles,
And
but
hurt.
the other side of that feels really good to be able to look
It
back and be like,
does.
"It's not gonna be
What
perfect, but I
right.
can do it." Yeah.
Right. I think about that.
Mhm.
I had, and there's things that happen. I have, traumatic things and things like that when I think like something military and just I was able to use it as fuel, right? It's some people,
Mhm.
it's you different people, even like with so Archer agency, I'm a Sag.
Mhm.
So that's the name. So the name means something to me because of the Archer, we're the only sign. And I know people are like, oh, here she is with that space stuff. No, but it's the only sign with we have the bow and arrow, all of that. And so that's in my
Mm.
name. And when you think of a
Okay.
Sagittarius and adventurous and all these things, it's me. And so that's where the name. And so when I think about
Mhm.
my resilience, all of that came into that. resilience, and all of that.
Mm.
I needed something that's meaning for me so that when I'm getting up every day and I'm KaTasha, CEO of Archer Agency, like it means something every time I say on a like
Mhm.
a totally different level than other people even realize. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So you mentioned, the military was definitely male dominated. You had a lot of
Uh-huh.
experience with, being the only woman in the room
Uh-huh.
sometimes. What did NAWBO, how did that kind of play into your entrepreneur journey and when did you stumble upon the organization?
So one, let me just say, and I'm not saying this because I'm a member, but it may be so, right? Because I absolutely love NAWBO. I was so to answer your question, right? Because I would go on a tangent about my love for NAWBO. When I became like legit business owner, because
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I'm gonna find two organizations to join. I'm gonna do
Mhm.
my research, and they need to be a fit for me. I need to feel like I have like a not a family, but a culture, well, kind of like a family, right?
Mhm.
But then I also it needs to be something that provides growth, and needs to
Mhm.
be something that's gonna now also put me in front of people because I have this business and I know all about. I've been head of marketing before, not at a level, nothing like you, but you get like that's my life. I've been like accounting, all these things. I knew that I had to get in front of people. So I
Mhm.
researched. I'm researching. Like I probably need to do a chamber because I've been chambers when I was a VP, all that. And I was like, and I really want something that's going to support me as a woman because it
Mhm.
we have different struggles. It is what it is, and I need to be able
Mhm.
to go in a room and be like, and somebody's like, well, that happens to me too. Is you need to toughen up, Buttercup. Like, shut up. It's different, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so I researched, and I stumbled across NAWBO, and I don't know if it's like an ad or something. So I started researching. I was like, okay, well, but then the San Antonio chapter is a really, really good one,
Mhm.
apparently, right?
Right.
And I joined, right? So I joined in April. So yes, you think that I'm new because I joined in April. I'm a baby. I'm not even a year. I can't walk yet, right?
Mhm.
I joined in April, and I remember somebody messaged on Facebook because I put, how you're proud member of NAWBO.
Yeah.
And I posted it, and then Nisi Bennett, who I did not know was a NAWBO member, was like, "Are you going to the conference? What conference? Oh, the conference is next week. I sure am." And I signed up for the summit, which mind you, I'm now on the summit committee. Don't even ask me the committees that I'm on. It is
Oh,
crazy
yeah.
that you
Yep. Yep.
um, but I was so like inspired. And when I tell you women were because I'm a girl's girl. I'm a brunch. I love my friends. And I've been in situations where I've joined other organizations like in the business world, right? And it was nothing wrong. No one was catty, but it was siloed or it was whatever. When I walked in, people would just walk up to me and start talking. I love that. Hey girl, hey. But then people would be like, let's get together. Let me see this. And people would meet, like set up a meeting or a tea. How many
Mhm.
times have I been to La Ti Da, right? Like,
Uh-huh,
but
yep,
I love it.
yep.
I
Shout
don't
out
like
to Leah, our
right, Leah.
member.
I'm sorry, Leah. I didn't even, but, and they were so, like, they would just be asking about me, right? And
Mhm,
my
mhm.
business. But then you could tell they were asking about me, like, as a person.
Yeah.
This entire year, was haven't even been a year, right? I never have had the feeling that somebody that was wanting to do something or talking or asking me was because they're trying to get customers. It's
Mhm, yeah.
so supportive and genuine. Like they smile and it goes to the eyes.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
fake.
Yeah,
It's crinkling.
right.
That's my experience at NAWBO. And now I'm a high school mentor, school champion. I literally was talking to Nancy the other day and I'm like thanking
Oh.
her. And like tears came to my eyes and I felt crazy. I said, look, I'm not even this emotional person and I'm over here about to cry. Like, but thank you for like, because you can see like with Nancy, like you can tell, like she loves the high school mentor.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. And I tell them if I would have had me
Mhm,
at their
mhm,
age, there's no
mhm,
telling. I already feel like I'm unstoppable, but I would have
mhm.
been unstoppable. And NAWBO does that. NAWBO, I'm not gonna cry,
Yeah.
and I'm not a softie. But NAWBO really makes you one think that you are the superhero that you are, because we are all superheroes.
Mhm,
But it's
mhm.
just so supportive and it's so nice. And you'll be talking to someone, and then because I'm also military, right? So structure. And then
Right,
you're
right.
like, I remember something like, she's the president. Oh, she's talking to me. Not like that, but you get what I'm saying. It doesn't, and people don't lead. I've I've seen Shannon talk to someone for a whole thing and never said she was the president.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like those are, but some people are like, hey, I'm such and such the what they don't care. Right. I think that's my
Mhm, mhm.
combo. No one cares. Once we go into that space, we're just all it's just supportive women and the real like supportive women. And
Yeah.
that was probably the best thing that I've joined.
Mhm.
But that's how I got here, right? I was all
Mhm.
over the world, but I was
Yeah.
very specific about what I wanted to
Intentional.
join when I
I love
became.
it. Yeah,
And yeah, that's
absolutely.
kind of.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I love, so Shannon actually commented this before you shouted her out, but she was already watching and listening and said, "Thank you for the
Oh my
shout
God.
out. We love you too."
Yes. Hi. I didn't even know. Okay. Hi. But
So
yeah.
true to form, Shannon, is,
Oh,
definitely a wonderful president. And as
right.
you said, there's just really in general in NAWBO, I feel like there's very few egos. There's very few people that are kind
Right.
of, I'm in this for me. How's it gonna, it
Right.
really is sort of just that very, I
It's
think,
a space we go.
warm environment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Very cool. So I love that you've gotten so involved and you have really jumped in. Summit's actually coming up as well. So we're
Yes.
excited for that.
Absolutely. You
I
can now
think
purchase early bird tickets.
you can. Yep,
Note, right?
absolutely. So if you see that QR code up above us, if you're watching right now, you can go ahead and scan that and check out not just Summit, but all of the different events we have going on and coming
Mm-hmm.
up very soon. Summit is May 6th, I believe,
Right.
right?
It
Okay.
is.
And yes, we will have a Cinco de Mayo happy hour the night
Yes.
before.
I'm
So
so excited for that. Yes. Yes.
it'll be fun, but there will be dozens of events between now and May. So don't
Right.
wait until Summit to come say hello and get to know NAWBO. But what would you say to somebody, KaTasha? Maybe they're not as extroverted and love
Right.
people kind of coming up and like immediately saying like hi, hi,
Mhm.
hi. Like, what would you say to somebody that's maybe a little bit more shy or timid?
Get involved, right?
Mm,
Like your experience, yes, I'm outgoing and all those things, but you have to get involved, and that can be a little scary. But Novel has so many areas that you can get involved with. You could send someone an email, "Hey, I want to do this," right? Like I'm on the
mhm.
membership committee. Of course, Katasha's on the membership committee, but
Yeah.
there are parts where we don't like where Cynthia sent out something where you just need to call these people and welcome them. So you don't even see
Mhm,
it on
mhm.
a phone, right? Or you need to do.
Yeah.
So there are things that you could do if talking to people and doing these things all day and being in someone's face and just walking up to people. So get involved. Like that's gonna be and be open and don't sit like this because like all those things, right? But the
Yeah.
biggest thing I think for anyone that's like new to NAWBO or even thinking about NAWBO, they have different types where they have like direct connect. That's more kind of like a after, all these things.
Yes. Yeah.
You have to get involved. Like your membership is only gonna be as good as you make it. Like, yes,
Mhm,
they have all of these things, but if you joined and then you didn't go to one thing, you never
mhm,
you have the membership roster where you can see and look at business and say, oh, they're kind of like me. Let me reach out. Those little
mhm.
things, right?
Yeah.
Um, that you have to get involved at your comfort level. And
Mhm,
people don't have the bandwidth to maybe be on a committee, but we need some people to send out some emails. Can you do that, please? Like it can be
mhm,
that level. I think that's my biggest thing. It's just something. It's your
mhm.
comfort level.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the fact too, a lot of people don't realize that NAWBO has the advocacy component as well. So
Yes.
even if you're
Yes.
not, power networker, I wanna know everybody and,
Yes.
even if you just feel passionately about supporting women business owners,
Right.
there's components of NAWBO where you can really make a difference in that regard as
Right.
well.
Right.
It's a very powerful tool, but so tell me a little bit more in terms of the Archer agency. How can people connect with you? What's your favorite way to have them reach out?
So of course I'm on everything. So of course my website, right? And it's, I'm think this through, but it's consultarcheragency.com, right? Because I'm
Okay.
gonna consult you and get your life together. But then on the socials, so Instagram, it's consulting Katasha. Still keeping it simple. You remember that I'm a consultant. If you remember
We
that,
love the
you're gonna find
alliteration.
me,
Yes,
right? And
absolutely.
then the
Yeah.
same thing like TikTok for even though I had we had didn't have TikTok for one day, but now that's the one that it's consult Katasha because they're trying to tell me that someone on earth was already going by consulting Katasha. I just don't think so. But whatever.
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
consult. And then of course LinkedIn, right? Just KaTasha Thomas. You can find
Mhm,
me
mhm,
there. I love giving stuff. So you even if you're not because you're trying to purchase whatever, you just like tune in because I'm always giving tips. I'm always giving free. I'll be like download. Like I have a discover your passion where your career and your passions like how do I find and do that alignment? Like you can just
mm,
download it and start working on it, right? I have those digital tools. So if you go to like my website, I have like free just digital tools and things like that. But that's how you find me. Just and now I have enough that I think that people can Google me. So look, I think you can
mm.
Google and something might come up. right?
Something. Yeah,
You
we'll
know,
we'll
my
figure out.
something, and that is, if you go to Archer Agency, just Google it. I'm the one with the 5 stars. That was me.
There you go.
Um,
There you go. Not the 4.5, not the 3.5,
nope.
5.
So the one with
5
that
stars.
5, that one's me. But that's how you can find me. And then I'm around. I'm everywhere. Like I'm involved. You'll see me. People walk up to me. I was at a conference and someone was like, "KaTasha, oh y'all follow you." I called my friend. I said, "I'm famous now.
Made it.
You get
Yep.
with my assistant when you need to do anything because somebody recognized me from Instagram." But just yeah,
Yeah.
this is me. Like just whatever you
Yeah.
need, I'm
Well, now
here.
you can't even go
Questions.
to HEB with, you gotta be dressed
I
up now to go
mean,
out in public. It's tough.
like
It's
I have a
tough.
driver and all that. No, but yeah, I mean, that's how. It's just
Yeah,
look me up.
amazing,
I'm everywhere.
amazing, amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, KaTasha. This was really, really fun.
Thank
I
you.
so enjoyed getting to know you better,
Thank
and
you.
we are so grateful for your volunteerism and efforts to get involved with NAWBO. That really does, from a board perspective, that's the dream is that you don't
Right.
just join. Like we would rather have really, really involved, tight knit group versus like
Yeah.
thousands of members that don't
Right.
participate.
And then
So
it's
we love it.
right. Right.
Love to
Well,
see
thank
it.
you for having me.
Amazing. Well, definitely reach out to KaTasha if you are interested in learning more about her services. And if you are interested in learning more about NAWBO, again, you can scan that QR code. It'll take you direct to our events page on the website, but then you can pop around and explore, check out other aspects of the organization as well, including that high school mentorship program that KaTasha was talking about. If that's something you'd be interested in volunteering for, I'm sure Nancy, our president of the foundation, would love to talk to you more about that as
Mhm.
well. So thank you so much again, KaTasha, and we will
Thank
talk to you
you.
soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye.